Yeah, but this is not it.
Rita won't let me sit down.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the July 7th TRC meeting. We have about, it's like 8 items on the agenda. We'll go through this as quickly as we can and as thoroughly as we can. We'll begin this meeting with reviewing the minutes from the last meeting. If everybody had a chance to read the minutes.
I'll move approval.
Motion by Tim Brown, second by Matt Carpenter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. All right, as you come forward to speak, please give us your name and so we can have that to the record, please. And also who you're representing if you're here representing a client. The first item on our agenda is the Goldsby Road Commerce Park. I believe Tim Brown, this is your project?
Yeah, this was continued from last month. They were proposing 90,000 square foot of warehouse use, but the general commercial land use category doesn't allow for warehouse use. Doesn't look like emails here from Jenkins. They have not resubmitted anything. They did ask for some clarification on the parking criteria. We told them they just wanted to kind of leave it open-ended, and we told them, no, you have to choose something, retail, office. So
Anybody here from Jenkins Engineering? You want to, Tim, you want to move to the end of the meeting in case they do show up?
The other thing is 80% of that piece is wetlands, so they're going to have some substantial mitigation for the Army Corps, which would be a lengthy
We
process.
can't hear you.
Speak up, please, we can't hear you.
Is this on?
It is now.
Okay. I'd say it's 80% of the site, and that's just a number I'm guessing on, is wetland area, so they'd have to do some extensive mitigation for the Army Corps of Engineers, which is a lengthy process.
Okay, all right.
well, we can push it to the end if you want, but since they haven't resubmitted anything and the issues that
Okay.
were in play last month are still in play this month, I would move that we continue to the next tier.
Okay, all right. A motion to continue number one, Goldsby Road Commerce Park by Tim Brown. Is there a second? Second by Bob Aronti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. It is continued. Before we move on, was anybody here that wanted to speak to this issue, number one? Anybody in the audience want to speak to number one before we move on? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Yes, my name is Hans Bugelman. I live at 218 Preston Path, Santa Rosa Beach, and I'm representing the Topsail Homeowners Association. We're the property that's immediately adjacent to the Goldsby Road property on the east side. And I spoke to this last time, and I wanted to note again the same issue concerning the warehouses, which again is not allowed under the code for that particular delineation that they're asking for. And I also want to express our extreme concerns about flooding issues, because every time there's a major storm event, we are being impacted by flooding from surrounding areas. So I cannot implore the board enough to be aware of the impact that this has on the communities, you know, on the neighborhoods around us. So please take that into account and go through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Hans. Anyone else here want to speak to number one, Goldsby Road Commerce Park? Anyone else? All right, thank you all. All right, moving on to number two, Piper's Place. I believe, Rita, this is your project. Can you give us a brief overview of this?
Yes, this is a major development order application submitted by Board Engineering to develop a 6 single-family homes in the future land use of neighborhood infill. The project is located on Fleetwood Road in Miramar Beach. There are a few outstanding comments, but they are mostly clarifications. I don't really have any big outstanding comments. Questions?
This is Chris with Core Engineering, and we reviewed your comments, and a few of the items provide water sewer letter. We've got some, we pretty much can respond to all of these
Yeah.
efficiently. The main thing would be is the roads to the north and the south. Those are actually private parking lots. So we will make that more clear on the plans to indicate that. And just a few comments with the landscaping plan, I believe, and a landscape buffer. So
Right.
yeah, we can comply with all of these comments within a few days on our plans, and with the compatibility analysis.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
believe was given control of that.
Yeah, we had a question. You got the 17.5 foot utility easement,
That's right.
but in your landscape, are we planning on leaving these trees here?
That's correct.
Would it be possible for y'all to, you got a privacy fence around both sides, the north and south, would it be possible just to put a gate in there for us, for access?
We were assuming that you would have access from Driftwood Road through the easement to be able to access that pond in the rear of the property.
Don't you have a privacy fence on both sides?
I believe we're not planning on putting a privacy fence on this side to have this open.
Okay.
But if we have a privacy fence along this property line, we can provide you a gate at the rear of the property.
That's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like the fence goes on the back and on the other side of the
Not on
property,
the south
not
end?
on this side,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
And one other question that we had was there is an existing, I don't have the landscape plan printed out right now, but there's an existing buffer of trees along the south property line. And we would like to consider possibly allowing those trees to remain and allowing that to be our southern property line landscape buffer. And not push the lots further north and have an additional buffer on the lot 6 southern property line. So,
Oh, because that's an access easement,
right.
you can't put landscape buffer into that access easement.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you will need to do the 10 feet, unfortunately, outside of that
So,
access easement.
so we would effectively have 2 landscape buffers on this southern portion of this property.
One, two.
Because there's an existing natural landscape buffer on the southern portion of this property to the south of that easement. But technically, it's partially on the southern parcel and our parcel, which the Blue Surf townhome development has a landscape buffer as well. And I'm just getting clarification for that. Because if we,
I probably need to look at the landscape
Okay.
plan,
but other than that, we can, we will address it either way that we can make it happen, so.
yeah, I
The
think,
buffer can't be in the easement.
right,
Oh, I understand, right.
so, but you say that on
So
the
it would
other
need to be,
side-
if the buffer can't, I mean, it's existing, there's some landscaping within that easement. So, okay, well, we can provide a landscape buffer in this area here.
And I did have one question. Do we have a request to encroach into the north landscape buffer for the stormwater?
I believe not.
Okay, we do not have a request, but I know that there is a percentage allotment for that. So, we can provide an inset drawing to show the limits of that encroachment and make sure it's within the land development code.
And it needs to be a specific request to the director to allow that.
With-
We've got to
with-
get written permission to allow that.
With some justification, Chris, about why that's necessary.
For the stormwater pond,
Or for the
The
encroachment
the
into the
encroachment,
landscape buffer.
the encroachment within the landscape buffer is, honestly, I will redo the calculation for the stormwater. And if we do not have to encroach that based on our volume required, then we will reduce the overall area of the stormwater pond. And if we cannot meet that requirement, then we would specify that that's the reason why, is because of the requirement for the stormwater volume.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else for Chris? Chris, anything else for us?
I believe that's it that we
Okay.
have.
Anybody from the public have any questions or comments on number 2, Piper Place? Anybody from the public? All right, seeing none, what's the wishes of TRC?
Motion to approve the Piper's Place, subject to all comments and conditions being met, and move it forward to the planning commission.
Okay, motion by Rita, is there a second? Second by Bob, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, moving down to number 3, Dalton Drive Commercial. I believe, Rita, this is your project again?
Yes, This is a major development order application submitted by O'Connell and Associates requesting approval of a over 7,000 square foot commercial building and associated site improvements on a half an acre lot with the future land use of BMU. And they were unable to submit the required documents, so they requested that we move this to be continued to the next TRC meeting.
Okay, so they've requested to continue, okay.
Yes.
Before we go to that continuance, anybody here from the public want to speak to number 3, Dalton Drive commercial? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
So I'm Greg Thompson. I live on 54 South Gulf Drive. Basically, I just want to iterate my concern for this proposed build. The area that's encompassed by 38 South Gulf Drive and Eastern Lake Drive is primarily all residential homes. It doesn't involve lots of businesses or condos, and so the type of construction that's being proposed is really it would be starkly different than what are all typical homes in that area. And so, speaking on behalf of several neighbors that we've talked to, we're very concerned that it just doesn't fit the character of the home. My family and I just recently built there for the purpose that it was a residential community, and you know, versus being in a place of multiple condos and things like this, it was a series of homes and people lived there. The other concern is that Dalton Drive has only recently been opened up to 38 for residential use. If you actually walk on the drive, you'll see that the dead-end sign's still there. It's a narrow dirt road, and it actually comes out to a bend on 38. So in that sense, that just from a public safety point of view of pedestrians and vehicles, that you can't see on long ways on either side of 38, that if you have this type of commercial building, you're going to have traffic issues and I think just honestly public safety issues, because this road is just a narrow dirt road in its current form, and it does not come off into a safe place to make a turn and onto 38 either way. So I just want to emphasize our concern that this type of build, not build, but this type is really not in the construction of what this neighborhood, this long-standing neighborhood has been like. And we're even concerned that this idea of mixed village use doesn't seem to be captured in what they're proposing at all. So, all right,
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
Hi.
You could come to the table, please, so we can hear you. Yeah, this is being recorded, so we can't hear out there sometimes.
I'm Allison Raymond. My family and I are full-time residents on Dalton Drive. And we've got a lot of issues with this type of building going at the top of our street. We all purchased homes there. Most of the people live in our little neighborhood, very few rental homes on Dalton. We purchased the home under the impression it was a cul-de-sac. It's on everyone's deed to our property that it's a cul-de-sac. The individuals at the top of the street have proceeded to open it up for their construction trucks. And now we do have traffic coming through. It's very dangerous. My husband is disabled. At the top of the street, one lot over from this building, there's a little boy, they just bought the house, because it was a cul-de-sac, who's autistic. Now they're stuck, you know, and they were told it was a cul-de-sac. It shows as a cul-de-sac on all the county, you know, if you come look at all the county maps. We are very concerned about the road being opened up. We feel that it needs to be closed back up like it was when we all bought our homes. We're very concerned about this size of building going in there. It's just way too big for the lot. We don't even understand how it's going to fit. Like the other gentleman said, it just doesn't fit with the neighborhood. It's 100% residential. So we're not even understanding when it got zoned commercial.
1996, November 7, 1996.
Okay. The little sign they have hung up about all the meetings, and it's an actual piece of paper stapled to a tree back in the woods. No one has received any kind of notification. I guess there's a certain number of feet and they need to be notifying people. No one has gotten anything from them. We're just very concerned, especially their proposal about turning down Dalton and then into their parking lot. If the parking lot were behind their home, it would back right up to somebody's house.
our house.
Right. Well, and the one behind it, because there's a lot behind it that can be built on for residential, and then there's my friend's house with the disabled child. So we're just very concerned, and if something commercial should go there, we understand that that's gonna happen, but Dalton Drive needs to be closed off. It's somebody's gonna get hurt. We've got elderly people living on the street, disabled people, handicapped child. I mean, it's just very inappropriate to open up Dalton and to put something like this on that lot. And we also don't want it to look like the Snappy Turtle up the street with all the stripes, because we hear that it is the same people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to speak to number 3, Dalton Drive Commercial?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Robert Raymond, I'm her husband. I just have one specific, you had said the property was changed to commercial in 1996?
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
Why is it listed, my question is, it's still listed as village mixed use?
Well,
Is that the same?
That
as
is a
commercial?
form of commercial,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Village mixed use was the designation assigned November 7, 1996 by the Board of County
Mixed,
Commissioners.
okay. It's on the plan, the future plan, land use plan as on the county one, not as commercial. It's on the south one as commercial, so.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. Are you
There's the
referring
future
to?
land use plan, village mixed use.
That's sure. That is the map.
Right, it's different on the Walton County, that's the south Walton one, I believe.
No, sir. Are you referring to the property appraisers?
No. I'm
Property
referring
card?
to there's two maps, there's a Walton County future land use plan.
That's what this is.
Well, there's two, there's
There's an
the south.
existing land use map, maybe.
Um,
I don't know. That's the only
I
land
can,
use.
I'll print them out for the next meeting, but.
No, if you'd like to call me later, or if you'd like
Yeah, I
to
would
stay after the
actually.
meeting, I'd be happy to sit down with you
Okay,
and go
that'd be
through
great.
that
Thank you.
while we're here.
Okay, that'd be very good.
Thank you. Anyone else? Number 3, Dalton Drive Commercial. Anyone else want to speak to this issue?
My name
Yes,
is
ma'am.
Laura Peeler, and we have a home on Dalton Drive. And I think this gentleman raised my deepest concern. 30A is curved there, very, very dangerous, pulling in and out of Dalton Drive, South Lake. There's bikers coming down the path, and you literally have to stop and then stop again. If this construction were to go in there, I had deep concerns about flooding. Brown Street, as you know, tremendous flooding, and this construction would only contribute to that. So that's all I really have to say.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Tom Peeler, Laura's husband. We live on Dalton Drive. Yep. I agree that the biggest concern that I have is the danger to, that's a highly traveled bike and pedestrian path. And unless you live there, you don't know that you have to stop twice, basically. I even make that mistake sometimes, pulling out of South Gulf, which is paved. That I mean, unless you're not really aware, you almost hit these people because they're coming around the corner there, and it's blind sometimes. I just think it's going to be a dangerous situation with commercial traffic coming out of there constantly. That's basically what it is.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on number 3, Dalton Drive Commercial? Anyone else? All right, seeing none. Rita? You've made a motion. Pardon me?
To address some of the,
You want to continue it, correct?
yes,
Are you wanting to respond?
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Just one thing that one of the reasons why it's being continued, because we requested them to provide us a compatibility analysis. And that should answer to all of those questions. And they're working on that, and that's why they requested this to be continued at this time.
Okay.
With the area prone to flooding, I think the more construction, the worse the flooding gets, and it hasn't been addressed.
They provide a stormwater plan, but there's some comments in regards to that they have to address as well
Okay.
to meet the county requirements.
Yeah,
Is the
right.
road also, the Dalton Drive, is the plan, it's gonna open it up as a beach through street? And it's a sand road, is the road
Private street,
itself been,
Private street.
addressed? It's not open as a through street now, but it's used as one because people jump, they just basically jump through. So if it is going to be done as the site plan, the road itself needs to be addressed, needs to be paved, or it needs to be cut off. I don't know what the regulations are for a beach through street, but we have problems with speeding, et cetera, already.
Well, right now, the plans are only showing to be paved to this property.
Yeah, but
not-
it's gonna, doing that is gonna open access as a through street for the rest of Dalton Drive. So in essence, it's gonna create a through street from 38 to the beach.
Is Dalton Drive a private or a public right of
It's
way?
a public right of way.
Does it
it's
run
a-
all the way to 38? Does it connect?
No.
It
Well,
doesn't.
I know the road doesn't, but does the easement?
The right of
An
way,
individual owns the land that these people are driving over.
They own it. They're gonna basically pave their driveway to connect to Dalton Drive.
So how much between where the road is currently improved and where they're proposing to pave, what would the gap be?
Pretty much on the bike path.
No, a couple hundred feet, because they're having it paved all the way to the end of their lot.
I actually am not certain how far it's currently paved, but it looks like.
It's not paved at all.
Sure.
No, that's not paved, that's all dirt.
There's a very small piece of sand between the bike path and the
Right.
cul-de-sac.
And
Very
people
small.
jump through that sand.
Right, they drive
Not-
through it,
Yeah,
yeah.
not that they're supposed to, but they do. And they come down Dalton about 50 miles an hour as it is.
And it's still a working process.
Yeah.
We're still working on. all
I
of
think
this.
everyone would be a lot more acceptable if it was cut off so that they can access their property, or the entire road's gonna need to be paved. I mean, there's
With
just
a guardrail at the end of it.
something that turns it to a
Right.
cul-de-sac, and I think that would probably alleviate a lot of it.
But that would not take away the problem of pedestrians.
Right,
The
yeah.
danger- The danger issue.
The danger
You
is.
should really see it, you can't see on either side.
Yeah.
If you start having commercial traffic, you're going to end up running over a kid on a bike.
Right.
It's just inevitable.
Like I say,
I think
I've almost
the county-
done it, you gotta be real careful coming out of it.
The county's own traffic study shows that a turn lane needs to be put in on South Gulf as it is. So creating this is gonna just increase the problems that the county already has addressed as a problem.
What's coming out of there is what I'm really concerned about. People coming by there, it's highly trafficked.
You can't see them on the curve coming around.
And again, you
the
have to
road.
stop twice, and
Right.
if you don't live there, you don't even realize
All
that.
right. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Rita?
Yeah, a motion to continue the Dalton Drive commercial project until all the comments and conditions are being met.
Okay. Motion by Rita, second by Jason? Tim, sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries, project is continued. Thank you very much. All right, number 4 on our agenda is Peddler's Pavilion Pizza Oven. Rita?
Yes, this is a less than minor development order application submitted by Yes, requested approval to reduce the size and scale of the approved shades and the attach of the outdoor pizza oven. This development is in a traditional neighborhood development land use, and, they were unable to submit, the required documents, that we requested after the, previous, meeting. So they asked for continuance to the next TRC meeting.
Okay, is that a motion?
That is my motion.
Motion by Rita to continue, is there a second by Mac? Second by Mac, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Project's continued. All right, number 4, Treasure Trove Phase 1 plat. Bob?
Mr. Chair, Treasure Trove, Phase 1 is for the final plat of 5.41 acres. It will be platting of 12 lots. Give you a little background on this. The applicant submitted it for re-review. There were numerous comments. The applicant agreed to take it back, address the comments, and then resubmit for review. Applicant has, and that all the reviewing agencies have given their sign off for it to go forward to the commission, so I'd like to make a recommendation that approve this plat and send it on.
Okay. Darryl, any questions?
No, sir.
Good morning, Darryl, by the way.
Good
Any
morning.
questions?
I'm Darrell Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. No, I agree with the recommendation, and we feel like we've addressed all comments.
Okay.
And, that was a first.
All right, anybody from the public have any comments or questions on number 5, the Treasure Trove?
My
Yes.
name is April Reddy, and I'm here on behalf of the property owners surrounding this proposed development. There was a meeting last night at ECA, and more than 20 people showed up. They were property owners to the south, to the west, and to the north of that proposed development. We have two main objections and concerns, one being storm, and the main one being storm water drainage and runoff. Right now, that phase 1 already has the retention ponds. It is a lake every time a substantial rain comes. So what we were told last night was we're going to build more of these retention ponds. They're going to put 50 new houses in this area of green space. It's not working now on that part of the development that's been done in the retention ponds that have been built. It's not going to work when you add 40 more lots on top of those. My property is on the north side, on the bay. We are the lowest property there. We are crossing our fingers now every time we get a substantial rain. When you build up and add 50 more houses in this green space, there's no way that we're not going to flood. I understand that there has an engineer's report. The property owners would like some time to get an engineering report. So we're asking that this matter be continued until the property owners can get their own engineering report.
Okay, thank you.
As far as traffic, we're talking about adding at least 100 cars if we add 50 houses. These roads cannot take that. There's a very sharp curve on Las Robles Grande where this development will begin. There have already been, just this year, that we could recall 4 different wrecks in that curve. People rolling over, people going straight. When the road makes the sharp turn, it's going to be dangerous. I can speak to Casa Grande Lane in the next segment because that's going to be phase 2 and phase 3, but there's some serious concerns about the ability of that road to sustain 100 cars going in and out of it. So I'll hold that until the next number 5.
All right, thank you very much. Darryl, do you have any response to the drainage questions and traffic questions?
No, not exactly, but they are well addressed in our design. We don't really have any response at this point in time, at least not from a subdivision plat. And while this has been approved, we have a master plan of record in 2005, 2007 era, something in there. We ask that the plat be moved forward to Board of County Commissioners.
So this is part of a master plan community that's already been approved?
Yes, sir.
It was approved, 2
Conceptually
and
for
3
phase
was
2.
approved conceptually, phase 1 was approved technically, so they're gonna have to come back to get phase 2 and 3 approved, but
And
the
that's-
overall was approved
that's number
And
conceptually.
that's what this is, number 6.
All right.
But phase 1 wasn't previously approved.
Okay. And Bill, some of you guys have reviewed the stormwater. Any comments on the stormwater?
The stormwater ponds are designed to be wet, so you should see lakes. They're designed in that way, and they're meeting the Walton County requirements for that.
So you have some ponds that are dry and some that are wet.
That's correct.
What's the functionality of those different? I mean, how are they different?
Well,
But
a
that's
dry
not
pond.
that's not an obvious difference, but you know.
They're required to design for the same storm events. You know, this one is the 100-year storm event, so it'll stage up and then it'll draw back down to a normal pool elevation. And they have discharge to the wetlands within the county requirements. And so,
Is there a grading plan that goes along with it that'll
not
happen?
the plat. But the grading plan for phase 2 and 3, yes, they have one. That's the next item, right?
Yes, sir.
But yes, there is a grading plan that shows all that.
All right. Anybody else in the public want to speak to number 5, Treasure Trove Phase 1 plat? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Pertaining to that, it was discussed last night from the homeowners who are adjacent, and I don't know the name of that neighborhood. Forest Park. Forest Park, that it's not working properly. And the representative last night, Dean, said that in fact, that possibly there was a problem right now with something to do with the draining, the reason why it wasn't operating properly. So it's not working properly, just so you know.
Did you get his name?
Sir, what's your name, sir?
Tim Jackson.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Not really sure about the conditions of Forest Park, whether it is or is not operating properly. It's not our design. I'll talk to Dean about that, but we have accounted for the stormwater on our property.
Okay. All right, anybody else have any comments or questions from the public?
I have one question and comment.
Yes, sir, please come forward.
My name is David Hutchins. I'm a homeowner on the bay of Casa Grande. I am familiar with the developer on this phase 1. He did file litigation against all homeowners, the county commissioners, building and planning. The original developer was John King, filed litigation in court on this property because flooding from Forest Park came in and damaged some of his retention ponds, and it was settled out of court. He dropped the lawsuit against the county commissioners, the building and planning board, the developers, the builders, but the homeowners association, which I wish was represented here, they settled out of court, and each one of the homeowners association paid him for the damage, and each homeowner on that Forest Park development paid him. Okay, I just want to make that clear to you.
Thank you very much. All right, anybody else have any comments or questions? Anybody else? All right, seeing none, what's the wishes of the TRC?
I'll remake the motion.
Okay.
I'll remake the motion to approve the final plat, to send it to the county commissioners.
Okay, all right, motion by Bob to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tim Brown, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right. Number 6 on our agenda is Treasure Trove Estates Phase 2 and 3. Again, Bob?
Sure, as you just said, this is the continuation of phase 2 and 3. They're requesting a major development order. They're proposing in this section 40 lots on 24.05 plus or minus acres. This review has generated a number of comments. The applicant feels that he can address the comments and as it's moving forward to the planning commission. So, got our comments back, got the fire department's comments back, were provided to the developer this week. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the concept for the major development order pending all resolution of all the outstanding issues and comments.
All right, thank you, Bob. Darrell, any comments?
Good morning. Darrell Burgess again with Emerald Coast Associates. I did speak with Dean at length about this prior to this meeting. He unfortunately can't be here today as a conflict of schedule. At any rate, we are diligently and actively working on the comments. Feel like we can get them addressed here in a timely manner prior to Planning Commission. One in particular being the fill within the roadways and meeting the criteria of not more than one foot on average. While that was not a requirement at the time of conceptual approval, we do feel that we can meet that, and at least in our initial calculations that we're undergoing right now, feel comfortable that we will also meet that as well and address the comments accordingly. We would request that we do get approved for carry forward to the Planning Commission.
All right, you may have TRC have any questions or comments to Darrell? All right, anybody from the public have any comments or questions on number 6, Treasure Trove Estates Phase 2 and 3? Anybody from the public? Yes, ma'am.
My name is April Reddy. I'm a property owner on Casa Grande Lane. I'm here on behalf of the other property owners. I've already stated our objections with regard to the stormwater drainage from Phase 1. I won't go into that again, but those are a deep concern of ours. I want to talk about traffic impact. Casa Grande Lane, we measured it yesterday. It's 18 feet across. It's not paved. It's some kind of asphalt that's recycled and then pressed down. That's deteriorating. That needs to be maintained. There is no way that 100 cars can potentially go down this road. The property owners that live there, when two cars have to pass each other, one has to pull over to the side of the road into the ditch to let the other one pass. Right now, we have FedEx trucks that come down, and when you meet one of those, you have to back up and let them come down. There is no way that road can handle the traffic that would occur with the way this proposed development has been designed. Our main concern is the road that has been proposed to cut through and connect to Casa Grande. We understand that the property owner has a right to develop the property. We're not trying to stop him from progress. Our concerns are that when you take and add 52 houses to this small parcel of land, you're going to have too much traffic. And all of those cars are going to be trying to make that circle. And we're going to have nice roads for the cul-de-sac and the road that they're putting in, but they're not planning on doing anything to upgrade Casa Grande. So all of those cars are going to be traveling on a lane. It's Casa Grande Lane. With the storm drainage problems, it's probably going to need a bridge in the where the wetlands. Yeah, well, lot 7 on the bay. And who's going to maintain it? Who's going to bring that road up? We were told last night that the developer has no plans to do anything to Casa Grande Lane. They're going to build the cul-de-sac and the road that cuts through down to Casa Grande Lane to the new standards, but they're not going to do anything to Casa Grande Lane. That's a problem. Our proposal is to make them both cul-de-sacs. Do not connect the road to Casa Grande Lane, and that way that will alleviate most of the traffic. There is a beach access that they're providing, which is, I'm sure, going to be a nice marketing tool for them. Hey, you buy this lot, you get access to the beach. But when those people go to the beach, where are they going to park? They're going to be parking along Casa Grande Lane, blocking our road, blocking, the need for, if there's an emergency vehicles are not going to be able to get down there. What are we going to do to control those people when they park? Our proposal was to make them both cul-de-sacs and have a nature walk down to their water access. It's not going to be a boat launch. It's just going to be a lot on the water. A small lot on the water. And, if we're a bike path, if it were a nature walk, that gives them the ability to get to the water access and still protects Casa Grande Lane from the traffic problems that are going to result.
Is this recommendation written down anywhere? Could you write it down and send it to us?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Linda Harris. I reiterate everything Andrew says. I'm a property owner, Casa Grande. And basically, I'm the one that will be impacted the most by this road. I have lot number 2. And what she said, the parking for this beach access. And there's nowhere to park. And it will pretty much make my home an island. And construction trucks will come down that road to cut through. The road will disintegrate. It practically is. And that's my concern.
Thank you you very much. All right, anyone else have any questions or comments on number 6, Treasure Cove Estates Phase 2 and 3? Yes,
My
sir.
name is David Hutchins.
Good morning.
From Casa Grande. I'll make it short and sweet. I know time, we need to move on. I want to iterate that we're not opposed to the development of the property. We're opposed and need the county to give us a definition on what are we going to do to Casa Grande Lane. I've talked to the superintendent of roads. He said, I asked him, is it a public road or a private road? He says, of course, it is a public road, which I agree. But in Walton County regulations, there are stipulations where you have a private and a public road, okay, in a situation like that. They do not maintain that road. When we went to them and asked them to pave the road, the engineer informed me that it would have to be the unrecorded 33-foot that's on the plat. And in order to do that, and of course, each iron pin, and there's a question about where your lot from the bay to the road ends and the other side to the road. It just says, you know, to the iron pin on Casa Grande Lane, that's it. 33 foot, you'd have to add the additional feet on each lot to come up to that standard, which I understand 38 is, was informed yesterday, was 30 foot, 2 lane, okay? So that's one of the things the county's gonna have to address. Increasing that 18 to 30 feet, 33 foot, excuse me, down Casa Grande. And then, of course, there's utilities, sewer, gas, and water. Regional Utilities and the Okaloosa Gas has put the gas lines right at the edge of that 18-foot area where they pay. When the developer that's developing Treasure Cove addressed this, requesting that road to be paved by the county, my understanding is the county commissioner and the road people agreed to come in and put this recycle asphalt, is what it is on that road, because it was a grave road. And they had to grade it, you know, periodically with a dozer. So it was to their advantage to do something to the road, put some kind of pavement down. But it was not asphalt paved. In order to asphalt pave that road, they had requested, we're gonna have to take over, you know, 10 feet or whatever of your property to the 33 foot that's unrecorded defined for Casa Grande.
Unrecorded, I mean,
Pardon me?
could you explain unrecorded?
Well, that's what it says. I'm looking at your plat. It says Casa Grande Road, unrecorded and everything. It used to be Creekwater Bay Estate. And you know how some of this property, and well, in fact, it used to be Logger Road.
You're talking about the unrecorded subdivision showing this right of way?
That's correct. You're correct. Thanks for correcting me. But it's defined as 33 foot wide, which is wide enough to handle this traffic. Okay? But it's going to have to be brought up to standards by somebody. The developer's obviously not responsible for doing that. And it's going to have to be Walton County to do that. And I don't think anybody from the road department, but I am going to address this in writing to them and get an explanation of what they plan to do that, because there's going to be an issue, not only the traffic, but the runoff of the water and et cetera, you know. And they're not maintaining that road. If you drive down it now, there's potholes there because it's been construction, waste management, you know, all those trucks, heavy trucks have gone down that road. And they have backed in my driveway and actually knocked my pedal box down, destroyed my lawn. You know, who knows who did it? There's not enough room down there, and I understand that. You know, construction people. But that's all I want to address there. I'd like y'all to, you know, continue this to hear and let us have an opportunity to get some answers from Walton County road, building, whatever. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Any comments or questions on number 6?
I do have a question
Yes.
for the applicant. Where is this beach access?
It is,
Why is it not shown
It's
on the
bay
site plan?
access.
it's a bay access,
Beach access on the bay.
That's good.
and I don't exactly know, it is in the very northwestern corner at basically the western end of Casa Grande Lane. It's about, I think it's 40 or 50 feet wide, and it is an ownership that they have onto the bay. It should be shown, and I believe it is shown on our plans. May not be any improvements in design for it, but it is, and it's primarily intended to be accessed by pedestrian or bicycle use. We don't anticipate any traffic or parking to access it on Casa Grande Lane. The major entrance to the subdivision is going to be off Los Robles Lane. We don't feel like the potential residents here are going to have any reason to access Casa Grande Lane other than by pedestrian or bicycle means to the 40-foot bay access. There was always a connection, county road connection, between Los Robles Grande and Casa Grande Lane, and it was part of the approval process for the conceptual plan that we maintain an access and create one. They actually vacated an easement way over on the west property line that didn't provide for a physical capability of developing a roadway there. But because it did exist by county, virtue of county records and easement, we created one at the request of the county, keeping a connection between Los Robles and Casa Grande Lane. There was a 33-foot Santa Rosa plantation easement over on the west boundary.
Sorry, I didn't cut you off.
So, but as I say, the connection between Casa Grande Lane and Los Robles Lane was actually required by the review and the design process for the conceptual plan in 2005.
Did the conceptual plan include the bay access lot?
Yes. Yes, sir, I do believe it did.
All right, any other questions or comments? Yes, sir, please come forward.
Tim Jackson. It seems to be the bay access a lot is of importance, then it's not of importance. However, as of last week, there was a sign from another development that's going up saying beach access to the bay, which you're planning on only coming one way, and that's when that road opens up. So it's not even to do with this development. So there is a problem there. And when there was building going on in the last year, we sustained a lot of property damage because of trucks trying to back in and out and trying to make deliveries and stuff. When things escalate to the point where no one can tell me that all of a sudden, last night it was brought up that if you look at your map, that they would come down from their entrance, but they would never be any kind of trucks going on connecting to Casa Grande. I don't really believe that myself. And then who's to police that if that is the case and make everybody feel like, okay, well, we feel comfortable that that's not going to impact us in any kind of way. I don't believe that. If a truck is making a delivery, if those lots right behind the ones that are on Casa Grande, you can't tell me they're going to go all, turn around and go all the way back out. And who's going to take care of that problems that we've already seen before with the building of one home? I'm just trying to get as clear as I can.
All right, anyone else have any more questions or comments?
I just want to add one comment here, then I'll just move on and y'all can vote. Casa Grande Lane, if you look at the plat, which you may not have, goes, Casa Grande Lane on the county plat goes all the way down and runs into West Casa Grande Lane. And if you GPS 133 Casa Grande Lane, my house, it directs you to go down Shelter Cove, make a right into Bob, whatever that road is, to West Casa Grande, and it shows us straight through. Okay? It was opened up, my understanding, when Opal, was here, that people had to get out, so for the emergency vehicles to get in, etc. They went across somebody's property. Okay? And the property owner that sold it, the new property owners actually put up a barrier there, stopped traffic from going over. First, they dumped a truckload of dirt there, and people just ran over the dirt and kept going through West Casa Grande. Now they erected a fence up, and the developer, Mr. Thomas, has put another fence up on the property that is owned by this other young couple that owns that property, because about, 20 feet by 10 of that lot goes into that West Casa Grande and Casa Grande Road. We don't know if it should be open It is private land, but it was used for over 7 years, and I'm from Georgia, so I don't know what the easement domain is, but in Georgia, you can, you know, if it's been open 7 years, it's open, it's an easement.
You have to go through court. You have to go through court in
In
Florida to
Florida?
establish
Okay,
that.
thank you. But, you know, so that needs to be clarified.
Right now, according to the county records, that road does not go beyond the property line or beyond the right-of-way for,
So it is a dead end street.
yeah, there's a cul-de-sac to the west and a development to the west, not a connection.
Okay, I'm looking at their plat, maybe old plat. It looks like that goes straight through, but I think you're correct.
That's the cul-de-sac right there.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this cul-de-sac. Here's Casa Grande. Here's the lot here in question, and it extends across that West Conduit Road here and goes straight through.
You can see it on the access point, whether or not it was legally created or not, or if it's,
Right.
I don't know, but
I don't know either.
you can see it, it's GPS on the.
It may be,
You're talking about this cul-de-sac.
Right.
You are correct.
Right.
But this is West Casa Grande here, and the cul-de-sac is called Baja or something. Is it on your thing?
I don't have the cul-de-sac name.
Yeah, it's whatever, it's called Baja, and it goes to one individual house, but it also has a lot there on the bay, and then this lot. Okay, but West Casa Grande, and I reviewed this with our attorney yesterday, and he said, well, that Casa Grande Lane, West Casa Grande Lane, does not show it's closed. So I had to explain to him that it was open for many, many, many years since open. And then when the property had been sold and resold, the new owner said, wait a minute, I'm stopping that traffic to go through there. And of course, Dave Thomas, the developer, he's actually a friend of mine. He said, I don't want those people going through by my house down here, so I'm going to help the property owner. And he put up a nice fence with lights and everything on it. Dead end. And then, of course, we put up, other signs and everything for property watch, or what do you call it, neighborhood watch is down there. Straight.
it sounds like that the property owner's taking actions to defend against a prescriptive
Exactly.
easement claim in the future.
Exactly, right. Okay. Thank you, that's all I have. Thank you all very much.
All right, anyone else have any comments or questions?
Can I say one more brief? and I'll be
Yes,
very
ma'am,
brief.
sure.
I keep hearing that this has already been approved in 2005. None of us were property owners in 2005. This Forest Park Drive and that subdivision, that it's already been, it's on record that there have been litigation over storm drainage issues. None of that was in existence in 2005. Just the building that has occurred since 2005 is giving us problems now. We urge you to please let us take a look and get our own engineer's report before you approve this to go to the commission to address those issues.
Well, as far as the 2005 and 6 actions, I mean, whether we like it or not, because I think most people weren't even here on this committee in that time frame, but it did establish a property right for them to develop. One of the things I think we need to make clear is the purpose of this meeting and this committee is a technical review, which means have they met the technical merits? I mean, you guys have raised a lot of great questions, a lot of great issues regarding things that really aren't covered in our code. The purpose of this meeting is have they met the land development code and the requirements? And so a lot of these questions you're asking, they're great questions, really not in our jurisdiction, really. That's more for Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners on a lot of those issues. And so I just want to make that clear, because our scope is very narrowly focused on have they met the requirements of the code. And all the other issues, I think they're great issues, but we don't really have that jurisdiction to do anything with that at all. And so I just want to make sure you guys know that.
I understand the board is going to be on this later, the planning board on this.
Yeah, do we have a date yet?
Do you have a date on
Yeah.
that?
No, yeah, the date has not been established yet, but they will,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
It will have to go to the planning commission, and once they make a recommendation, it'll go to the Board of County Commissioners for
Can
final
somebody
approval.
email me, is that going to be published, or how do I find out?
It'll be published.
All of our meetings are published
On the
typically there's a
on the
Walden County
website.
published meeting notice in every issue of the Beach Breeze Defuniak Herald. That's the newspaper that we publish our official notices in. We don't put it in any other newspaper.
Sure.
So if you, and that only comes out once a week, so there's only,
This is-
you don't have to look at it once a week. Everything's advertised for at least 2 weeks in that paper.
But, and also call, if any questions, call us, we can tell you when it's gonna be.
Well, they also have to notify everyone by certified mail within 300 feet. So if you're beyond 300 feet, you're not gonna get a letter, and they have to post a sign on the property. It'll have the planning commission public hearing date, and it'll have the county commission public hearing date.
I think we understand what the purpose that you define what this meeting is. Our purpose is to come here and be on record.
Sure.
That we're gonna, that our concern is, he just reviewing the technical, see if he's met the requirements, and evidently he may have done that. We just want to go on record that, these are our concerns, and we plan on going to the board
Sure.
planning.
Great, thank you very much.
And we appreciate your participation early in the process.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe for the county to maintain a road, don't we have to have 50 foot of right of way? The county paved, maintained roads, so, there would
Is
be
it
some-
50 foot, or, they can make a variance, can't they? Is anybody from the
Not
road
for a
department?
public road. The minimum right of way for a public road is 50 feet. For a private road, there is no minimum.
Okay, for 50 foot, this is in Walton County Building and Planning Regulations, chapter 5 or something like that.
Chapter 5, yes.
Yeah, it's 50 foot, and it has to be 50 foot in order to be paved. My question is, why did the county go in and put this asphalt down, which is legally classified as paving?
That's a question I don't think we can answer, 'cause
Yeah.
I have no knowledge of it.
Well, nobody can answer this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm frustrated. It's just like-
I don't blame you, I don't blame you.
I used to work for the city of Atlanta as their city manager up there, one of their suburban cities,
Uh-huh.
Lawrenceville, Georgia. And, you know, this question's come up all the time, and I know that, but somebody's responsible and can give you the answer. And every time I call the building director, or the road people, I call the road people, I said, can you give me an answer on the Casa Grande and everything, is it a public or private road? They said it's public, because you see the sign that says green, that's a public road. The blue ones are the private roads. Okay, that's fine. Then I questioned, I said, who authorized to put this asphalt down? And they said, we don't know. Okay, but Mr. Thomas, and I don't mind making this aware, that he went to Cindy Meadows, our commissioner, and he said the homeowners on that street wanted to pay. Obviously, he was looking ahead for his new development and everything. And of course, they came in, and it was to their advantage not to grade it and pave it. And they did it, but it's not, it's only 18 foot wide is what they put asphalt in. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I think we got a motion by Bob. Is there a second?
What was the motion again?
Motion is to approve the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues and comments.
And move it to the planning commission?
Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mac. All in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, moving on, number 7, Happy Hollow. Again, Bob.
Mr. Chair, Happy Hollow, it will consist of a 2,160 square foot food processing and package wholesale and storage unit. It's on 7.79 acres. The idea is to put a hydroponic lettuce production facility and associated infrastructure on this property. The applicant has been provided the comments and will be addressing the comments and resubmitting. Staff would like to make a motion to approve the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues and comments.
Okay, your name in?
Michelle Baker with Baker Engineers. I've seen all the comments, they're mine, and we're ready to address them and resubmit.
Okay. You have any comments or questions, Michelle?
How big is this building?
The building is, if you count the garage, which it is 2,160 square feet.
2,000, you said?
Mhm.
Mac, any more comments, questions?
How long with a 3,600 foot greenhouse?
Mac, during the pre-development meeting that you were involved with, the agreement was made that that building was not going to be counted in the square footage.
All right, anything else? Any more questions on Michelle? All right, anybody from the public have any comments or questions on number 7? Happy Hollow. Yes, sir.
Hayward Dykes for the record. I was curious as to, when I reviewed some of the development code, it mentions in there that in rural village, commercial development, that the commercial land use shall be limited to collector and arterial roads, intersections of subdivision, collectors and arterial collector roads. This intersects directly on a residential road, not an intersection, in Happy Hollow. Has that been addressed, or is that one of the comments
This is
being dealt with?
This is an industrial land use?
Yes.
They don't go into the residential.
This is rural.
They don't go into rural village, it goes into they stop the development on the part that's industrial.
I guess my question is, how are they gonna be accessing the roadway? Do they have access to Highway 20 directly, or do they hit Happy Hollow and then go into 20? Because that's a dead-end street that is completely residential.
I think the access is on Happy Hollow Road.
Happy Hollow, and it's industrial, like I said.
Does the parcel have two land use categories?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
But we're staying on the
Okay.
industrial part. That's his only access to the property.
Yeah, it appears to be landlocked otherwise.
It's listed as rural village in here, so that needs to
This
be
is
amended.
industrial.
That was just a typo.
Well, it's listed as industrial and rural village.
Okay.
All right.
So can you explain that to me again?
The actual project is located in the industrial land use category, but the access, as I understand it, is
Happy
going
Hollow.
from the industrial to Happy Hollow.
Okay. So you can have an industrial that abuts a residential, and you can use the residential access to access the industrial.
We don't have any prohibition in our code that disallows that. And that's their only access point as well, it appears.
It seems odd to adversely affect a residential area for an industrial. I mean, if I was landlocked some other way, then, that's part of the issue that you would have to deal with when purchasing the property, developing the property, especially if it's
It
commercial.
appears that this parcel was created by the original developer that created the residential lots along Happy Hollow Road.
Right, I understand.
Because there is a stub out for access for this parcel behind those lots.
Right, but I believe that the idea, whenever he probably developed it was gonna be a second phase of the Happy Hollow subdivision. So, I mean,
Could not have been developed in industrial.
I'm sorry?
Could not have been developed in the industrial land use.
Well, I mean, I don't know what he requested whenever you were developing the land use map. but-
Do we know when the industrial land use was that the original land use assigned to it in 1996?
Yes.
So it's been there industrial's been there probably prior to the development as residential, it sounds.
Yeah, there's other industrial.
Right.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, does the industrial apply, or does the rural village apply? Because,
To the access road is what you're talking about?
right,
Like I said, again, I don't think we have anything that prohibits anybody from accessing through, through that portion that's residential.
right, but if I was developing in the rural village, I would have the restrictions, so you're saying those restrictions don't apply to industrial?
Right. Yeah, because the site where the construction is being proposed is within the portion of the property that carries the industrial land use category. The location criteria of connecting at an intersection does not apply. If they were putting it in the rural village portion of the property, that location criteria would come into effect.
Okay, so with this, if they can they can develop in one portion of it and then say, well, we don't need to develop on this portion because that would restrict us more.
Yeah, anything they do in the rural village portion of the property would have to comply with that land use category requirements.
And there's no development.
And they're not proposing any development in that section of the property. Is that?
That's true.
Is there any, and this would be more for the applicant, I mean, what type of, commercial activity as it relates to the use of, going in and out of that roadway or use of that property?
There's no commercial activity. It's it's a production facility, so, and there's only one employee proposed, so there'll just be one person coming and going.
And it's gonna be hydroponic?
Yeah, just for lettuce, just when the lettuce is ready to be packed up and
I got you.
gone,
Okay.
then there'll be that one employee taking it.
Well, and that's fine, I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to the actual project itself. I mean, I was more concerned about any type of commercial traffic in and out of that particular community using that roadway.
It's not actually a commercial project. It's
Right, and I don't think you'll see semi-trucks.
No.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, whether it be semi-trucks or delivery trucks
I
and,
think, you know, those fresh produce trucks you see going, like box trucks maybe? And I think the applicant was proposing to deliver to the restaurants on 38. Is
Yes,
that what-
it's to serve restaurants on 38 with fresh lettuce, so.
And I don't know how fast lettuce
We're
grows,
not
but I don't
talking
think
about-
it'll be.
But here's the thing, I mean, the land use is industrial. I mean, so you
It
could
could
do, I
Yeah,
mean,
he could.
potentially you could do,
He could build out the whole site. He's building out less than 1% with the floor area ratio.
Mhm.
And he could do 60%.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, he's only using very small little portion. of
oh,
the
that's
site.
fine. Like I said, I mean, I think I've made my point. I mean, my
Right.
concern was more of, which I think it's odd that it can be done that way, that you can, you know, sort of jockey your development or whatever you wanna call it onto one portion and then say, well, that's how we're gonna get around, but we're still gonna use a
well,
residential.
you know, I mean, that's the land use there. That's, it's
No, I get that.
it's
I mean, I
industrial. Now,
understand.
I will tell you, there's a lot of land near there that's also industrial. You
Right.
could potentially see something very intense on those properties as well. I mean,
Right.
And
But I
industrial
think-
kind of concerns me if I had residents there.
Right, but I mean, it would seem like most of that you would want to, or I would hope you would force them to have access to 20 versus, oh, we're gonna let you run your trucks through.
Well, they would
you
have
know.
to go through somebody's house to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not opposed necessarily to the project, I was just more curious about what the intensity would be on that roadway,
Right.
since it, I mean, even though it abuts to an industrial, you know, that is all family, or, you know, single family lots and everything.
Right.
So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, anyone have any comments or questions? Number 7, Happy Hollow. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, let's switch to the TRC.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues and comments.
Okay, motion by Bob, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vivian, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, last item on the agenda is number 8, Casablanca. Rita?
Yes, this is a major development order application submitted by Emerald Hills Associates, requesting to demolish 3 existing single-family homes and to build a 14-unit condo on approximately a little over 1.5 acres, with the future land use of infill and village mixed use. This project is south of County Highway 38. They have sent me an email that he won't be able to attend, but he does not have any questions or concern about the comments. They are pretty straightforward, mostly clarification. So, unless Darrell, you have any questions?
Well, I don't have any questions. One comment that did stand out was the question of potential wave ramping in the V zone.
Yes.
We feel comfortable that we can address that and demonstrate that that should not be an issue, but otherwise, we would request that the project move forward to the Planning Commission, and we do feel comfortable that we will make our resubmittal in ample time.
Aaron, what is the wave ramping?
There was a proposed retaining wall. I don't know if it's around the entire site. It was just called out on one side.
Correct.
In the V zone, you have to demonstrate that you're not going to adversely affect neighboring properties with essentially a retaining wall, with the waves hitting it and being avoided.
And, you know, we're comfortable that we have a response that will meet your concerns.
What's that response going to be?
They're working.
What could it be?
Ideally, a wave analysis.
No, quite frankly, the threshold elevation of the V-zone is 11 feet. The property is at even as much as 24 feet. That if we need to develop a model to demonstrate that the wave ramping should not get up to that point, even in the event of a storm surge, then, we're comfortable we can do that, and that's what we're working on that.
Okay. All right, you make any questions of Daryl?
Do they have to do a compatibility analysis as part of this? Because it was in part of the properties in infill?
I believe so,
They provided one, didn't they?
Yes, we
Okay, I was just curious, I hadn't seen it, that's why.
I went through it.
Performed by Borst Consulting LLC.
That's right.
Yeah, I got that in my office, as a matter of fact, I was looking at it.
Okay.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, anybody from the public have any questions or comments on number 8, Costa Blanca? Anybody from the public? All right, what's the wishes of the TRC?
Motion to approve the Costa Blanca project, subject to all comments and conditions being met, including the retaining wall, and moving forward to the planning commission.
Second.
All right, motion by Rita, second by Tim Brown. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. There's no K in that word. Whatever. Listen, I took Dutch and Co. I took Dutch and Co. Nick Banks, Terrence Lee.
That's all.